Hey everyone, welcome back to the Anchored in Learning podcast. It is your girl Vanessa, and we are back in 2025, ready to talk about the future of work. So I don't know how many of you all saw the World Economic Forum's latest job reports for 2025, or the Future of Work report, and it had some very interesting things in it that I think that we need to discuss, and it's crucial now so that we're prepared for 2030. The fact that I'm even saying 2030, y'all, is also crazy. But here we are. So for those of you that didn't read the report, I'm going to give you a quick summary of what the core skills they shared are. But first, I want to give you this crazy statistic. So the World Economic Forum is actually saying by 2030, about 40% of existing skills are expected to be outdated. I don't know about you, but I'm not looking to be outdated. I am looking to stay relevant, on trend, and, here with, what are the skills and the needs of the workforce of today, right? And obviously I was not here for the, Industrial Revolution or anything like that, but it feels like we're in this revolutionary period in our world. When AI came on the scene in 2022, and I mean like AI on the scene, meaning ChatGPT, generative AI came on the scene, it fundamentally started to change how things happened. And my good friend Myra from Undesto AI made this comment to me, and she was like, Vanessa, we're kind of like in the beginning of the internet phase. And then all the flashbacks came from, the AOL CD, popping that into my computer, and hearing the You've Got Mail and the startup dial-up tone. All of those things started rushing back, and remembering, at that time, there were certainly people that thought this wasn't going to be a thing. It wasn't going to change the way that we did work. And all of a sudden, I cannot live without my email, right? I cannot live without the internet. My children, my 7 and my 8-year-old, also cannot live without Wi-Fi, but that's a different problem for a different day. So we're, as crazy as it sounds, we're back in that place right now. And couple that with this crazy spread of generations that are in our workforce, one that we've never seen before. So if we think about, generations past and workforces past, there have never been this many generations in the workforce. And the fact is that baby boomer generation that spanned so many years, and a lot of them are still not retiring. So they're holding all of these positions of power and positions of influence that we never saw before, right? So like my millennial friends, some of us, it's hard to move up in certain organizations because the positions just aren't there. And that's part of the reason why we're moving around. And so when we couple this generational spread and the different ways in which the generations are used to and expect to learn, interact at work, what they expect to have available, plus this change in how we work with remote work, hybrid, all the changes from the pandemic, it's crazy. And so I think it's time that we really think about what does our future workforce, our future as an organization need to look like? So 2 years ago, I think it was, I started populating, I saw a stat in, I forget where now, but I saw a stat that we started putting into my TikTok presentation that about 25% of our workforce by 2025 is going to be Gen Z. And it feels like for so many of us, for so long, we're always a step behind, right? So we're worried about engaging Gen Z in our workforce, and we need to adjust how we do things to engage Gen Z, but they're already in our workforce, right? We're about to introduce Gen Alpha into our workforce. So we're constantly working in this, organizations are so slow to change. We're working in this space of reaction as opposed to being proactive. And so that's what I want today's conversation to be about, right? How can we be proactive about what our organizations and our places of work need to look like, and how can we as learning professionals, right, and talent professionals and HR professionals and CEOs and COOs and all of us, how can we prepare for that? And so one of the things that I want to share is what the World Economic Forum is saying those core skills are going to be. So there's 10. First is analytical thinking. Second is resilience, flexibility, and agility. Third is leadership and social influence. Fourth is creative thinking. Fifth is motivation and self-awareness. 6 is technological literacy. Say that 10 times fast, Vanessa. 7 is empathy and active listening. 8, probably my favorite, curiosity and lifelong learning. 9th, talent management. And 10th, service orientation and customer service. I love it. This is the time when I think we really can, I don't know if any of y'all have heard this, but like there are some people that want to reframe soft skills into being called power skills. And I think like this is that time that we can actually do that, right? Like top 10 core skills in 2025 that is going to help us, in 2030. These are the top things. And they're not really, hard like skills. We're not talking about being able to have to code and things like that. We're talking about doing the things that the robots and the computers can't do yet, right? Really being able to lead and show influence, being able to be creative, being a little bit more curious. The technology that we have available can certainly help, right? Jumpstart some of that, give us some ideas and things like that. But at the end of the day, we still need to be the humans that are expressing empathy, using our brains, and doing all of those things. So I think that that really is where we need to start as an organization, really understanding like these are the skills that we need to be training for. These are the skills that we need to be looking for. These are the skills that we need to be providing opportunities for learning and education, because, and I retracted the word training. And the reason I say that is because I don't believe that you can train empathy. I think that you can educate someone on what empathy looks like, how to display empathy and give those opportunities for practice and for role play. But I think it's a skill that you have to develop, and you have to provide educational experiences in order to do that. So that is, one, like the first place that I want organizations to start with, right, is really understand like this is what we need to be looking for. This is what we need to be looking at when we look at our, performance plans and our onboarding plans and all of those things, our leadership development programs. Like how are these things embedded into those pieces? Because this is the hard stuff. This is the stuff that is actually more difficult to create learning solutions for, as opposed to this is how you read a P&L report as, a leader. This is how you do, you do this as a leader. This is how you do that are more tactical, process oriented, and those like hard skills, if you will. So that's the first piece of the future of work. We're really going to be leaning more into actually being humans and being people, right? As opposed to like work robots. The second thing that I think will be really important to look at as you look at the future of work is how technology plays a role in your everyday work. Now the big thing is the AI agents, right? So we've gone beyond the chat GPTs and the generative AI, like helping you, create, brainstorm with you and create content and things like that. Now we're getting to a place where you have these AI agents that are actually able to complete tasks. And actually, interestingly enough, in that Future of Jobs report by the World Economic Forum, they shared some of the things that are going to be, or some of the roles that are going to decrease by 2030 are more like clerical, bank teller, things like that. Things that AI agents are going to be able to take over, right? And to be able to do. And so one of the things that I do at Kirkpatrick Partners in particular is I challenge my entire team and say, think about what it is that you do on a daily basis, right? Like as you're doing a task. And I want you to go out and find the technology solution that will replace that task. And I'm not doing this to put them out of a job. I'm doing this because I want them to be able to actually flourish in the other areas that I know technology is not going to be able to do. For far too often, and still to this day, we do so many things at a very administrative, manual level, right? And internally, we're still trying to like figure out some processes and things like that. So there's like that piece of it. But in the back of our minds the entire time, we're thinking like, how can we leverage technology to like make this better, to do better work? And so I want you to think about how you can replace and really experiment with the technology that is available and out there to replace some of those mundane tasks. And so there's an exercise that I've done for my own time, like all the tasks that I do, like what's a $1,000 task, what's $100 task, a $10 task, and a $1 task, right? And anything that's like a $10 or $1 task, like that's probably something that could be delegated. Like someone that's a CEO does not need to be doing some of these things, right? It's actually costing my business. Even $100 tasks at times costs my business, right? And so that's sort of the same sort of concept I want you all to think about when it comes to your technology, right? I want you to think about how can you embed technology, do some of those $10 tasks, $1 tasks in a very safe, protecting your privacy information and all of that sort of way. But think about what are the tools available out there to make your job better and faster? And not so that you can add more on someone's plate, but you give them the opportunity to do the things that only they can do. You hired them for a special reason, right? You saw something in a lot of your employees that you didn't see in other people. And for a lot of us, we're not able to actually do the things that we were hired to do because we're bogged down by all these other mundane day-to-day tasks, right? And so if we're able to offload some of that using the technology, I think that we're able to actually be more human and then practice more of those things when it comes to, the analytical skills, the creative, being a lifelong learner and curiosity. And where does curiosity and lifelong learning lead to? Innovation, right? That is when you're actually able to create things for your company that lead to exponential growth. I'll tell you for myself, when I'm bogged down doing the day-to-day thing, my business shrinks, right? We have like a moment of constraint because I'm not doing the thing that allows us to expand and be innovative and be creative. And the more people that have that innate skill set and that are able to really be curious and solve good problems, the more that your organization will grow. And it doesn't mean that everyone's going to create like a new product or solution to sell for your company, but they're able to be creative to solve for problems within your organization so that your organization can be more productive, save you time, talent, treasure, all of those things. The third area that I want you all to look at when we think about the future of work is this remote, hybrid, what are we doing sort of situation. And so I know that right now in the U.S., and in our government space, it's a really hot topic, right? Because there is no more remote work. And actually, a good friend of ours was told at the beginning of this year, they had to come back to the office now 4 days a week, right? They originally told they only had to do 3 days in the office, 2 days at home, and they weren't going to change that. And then they reverted back, and they're probably swearing up and down they're not going to revert to 5 days, right? And this is not an unlikely story. You know, this is something I'm hearing over and over again. I had a customer of mine at the end of last year share that they had just were told the day before she and I spoke that they had to go back into the office 5 days a week. And that was like a phasing in, but she's like, I live like an hour away. You know, that was not like when I took the job, it was because I was going to be able to work from home. And so as a mother, I can tell you there are times that I consider shutting it all down and finding a full-time job because, you know, the stress of being an entrepreneur gets to me. And I'm like looking for peace in my life. And then I start to look for jobs and I'm like, wait, who's going to pick up my kids from school? Who's going to, when they're sick, pick them up? When, you know, they have a day off from school, who's going to stay home with them? Like there are so many things that I would have to consider that, you know, we'd have to hire someone to help. And like now we live in Florida where we don't have like my parents around to really help, you know, or close friends and family that could help be a third parent if I were to ever take like a full-time job that was in office, that it pulls me back from, you know, well, a lot of reasons pull me back from doing that. But let's say I didn't have any of my businesses, right? Pulls me back from considering this full-time work. And so what do I do instead? I think about, all right, well, how can I work on my own and build, you know, additional, you know, things, income streams, so that I don't ever have to like do that, right? Like if there was ever a dip in my businesses, right? What's another income stream I could have? And so these are the considerations that your employees are also thinking about, right? And they had just spent the last, 5 years working remotely, making adjustments, thinking they were never going to come back to an office, being able to maybe save money on from daycare, save, you know, headache because they're able to, you know, not have that commute or be able to be at soccer practice in the evenings, right? And they want that and they don't want to give that up. So they're looking for other distinct opportunities. And so I think really thinking about how can you offer that, is being in an office absolutely crucial for your organization. But remote and hybrid doesn't come without its flaws. And it doesn't come without its challenges. And now, as you know, as we think about having these remote and hybrid organizations, you also have to think about, how am I going to build a culture in an organization and build camaraderie amongst teams when we're all spread out? How do I get people to work across silos when, you know, we can't just huddle in an office space, you know, around a conference table to brainstorm and have those, you know, human design meetings and all of those things? That's another area that I want you all to think about, right? Is how can you offer remote and hybrid, but know that that's not going to come without its challenges. Personally, if I could have my pick, I would like a hybrid situation where I'm like in maybe like 1 day a week or like, you know, every once in a while. Because I won't lie, I actually got dressed up. Obviously, I'm on the podcast studio today. I got dressed up today to come in, and my mood instantly elevated from like how I normally am when I'm in like leggings and, you know, like sweatpants or whatever. And I feel more creative when I'm able to get out of the house sometimes. And I spent a little too much time in home. So anyway, I'm digressing there, but you know, I think for me that would be like ideal. And then the last area that I want you to think about when you're thinking about the future of work is how people learn, how they want to learn. We are far and wide too like wedded to this idea of formal learning and formal training as being the only way. Especially when it comes to, I mean, just anything and everything, but I think we have so much check the box compliance training that we can't imagine a world in which we learn in any other way or we do things differently as a learning organization or as an organization with a learning department. But the future of work isn't formal, it's informal. When we think about, the Gen Zs that are coming in and Gen Alphas, they didn't just learn things, and a lot of things they didn't learn from school, right? They didn't just learn from school. They learned through being curious and trying things and popping onto YouTube when they, wanted to learn something and extrapolating that information when they wanted it, right? Not having it being pushed to them like, today you're going to learn how to do X. No. They, would be curious and go out looking for the answer. And that's how they're doing a lot of their learning, and a lot of it's, trial and error. And in organizations, we get nervous, or we don't understand informal learning and how to measure it, right? And how to know what's working and what's not, because everything has to tie back to an ROI. But does it all have to tie back to ROI? Does it all necessarily have to tie back, or is there a way to measure informal learning in a way to say, these are the things that are working, and if we can do more of that, that will actually be more helpful for our organization. So when I think of, to sum up, where we see the future of work, we're looking at soft skills, power skills being what it is that we need to be focusing on with our employees, looking how technology can replace the hard skills, right? So that people can focus on those power skills. How can you build community in an environment where a workforce prefers this remote and hybrid sort of situation? And how can we master informal learning? So in the next few episodes, we're really going to dive into some of this piece by piece, but I wanted you all to get that conversation kind of going in your mind, thinking of, all right, people and skills, technology, work structure, and learning. Those are the 4 areas I need to focus on as a business to create the culture that employees want to be a part of. So with that, friends, I will catch you on the next episode where we're going to be talking all about how you close the skills gap. Talk soon, friends.